The factory. Deana boarded one of the elevator scaffolding, holding onto the armrails of the steep stairs that descended to the swinging conveyor. A counter was there at the entrance, making sure no more than 50 Mycorians boarded an elevator at a time. The counter's quilled body bristled as its long snout bobbed, its small legs excitedly bouncing on its enormous feet. Their species most certainly loved counting. Yet this one didn't have a plethora of eggs to count and log for each Mycorian, a remarkable job that Deana couldn't understand how they managed. It should be more excited about counting at the nesting grounds than these minuscule numbers. Perhaps its enthusiasm stemmed from the fact that it would be one of the counters, whose quickly regenerated quills would be assigned to provide wealth to the Mycorians who survived the factory. Once on, Deana looked down, seeing the dot of the black building that quiescently waited for its participants. It took half an hour before they were on the cobbled path that ended at the looming building. The sun illuminated a dark black building, devoid of steeples or decorations. It stood as a multi-floor, wide and sprawling rectangular structure with a slanted black roof. There were no windows to mark its individual floors, only protruding awnings, alternating on each level of the 3-story building. These awnings were also black, stiffly flapping like leathery triangular sails. Unlike the Leaf Lodging, this building didn't feel alive with sounds or activity. It was a silent, unwelcoming sight, appearing as though it would be swallowed in darkness once night fell. A few Mycorians turned back, retreating to the scaffolding and to the great mushroom, turning their back against the vague promise of riches and settling to live with failure. For those hundreds of Mycorians who bravely remained, it took a few minutes for them to reach its many doors. Closed double doors lined its entire front face, allowing the Mycorians to spread out for once, not having to wait in long queued lines. They waited in silence, several Mycorians looking at each other as if to ask, "What do we do now?" Then, quietly, the doors swung inward, revealing an empty room with more doors across the dark space. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all black. But upon stepping onto the floor, they felt a softness as their feet gave way, leaving momentary imprints before slowly springing back into place. Deana looked around, seeing the marvel on everyone's faces as they walked in, the sunlight shining behind them until it wasn't. The doors swung shut, and they were all in darkness for only a moment before glowing words appeared, floating in the air. "Welcome, fellow Mycorians." A voice filled the room, stating the same as the floating words. Its tone was neither male nor female. Deana thought that was quite clever, knowing not all Mycorians had learned intermediate reading. "We have counted 287 Mycorians this day. Based on this number, only 7% of you will return to the Great Mushroom with wealth. This means only approximately 20 of you will leave." The voice waited for the Mycorians' mutterings to recede. They all knew the odds. Every Mycorian knew the odds of the factory. But it was the only choice they had if everyone present was in debt like Deana was. "Your presence here stands to account that you are willing to serve the factory in any way that is deemed necessary, for an undetermined amount of time, if sentenced for consequences of your actions." The doors reopened and sunlight poured in. The words brightened. "This is your last chance to leave if you wish. You have 3 minutes to decide." A light illuminated an enormous floating hourglass, its lower half already mostly full. Its sands trickled down as many Mycorians murmured to each other. As the moments seeped away, a few Mycorians left. In the last few seconds, a Mycorian tried rushing out, only to be met with a slammed door. He was too late. "There are 267 Mycorians remaining," the voice continued, with the floating words. This means 7.5% of you will return to the Great Mushroom in a week, which is an estimate of approximately 20 of you. That wasn't much of an increase in percentage. And the number of 20 persons didn't change at all. Deana wondered if it was always just 20 who would return rich. You are now ready to hear the rules. Deana could feel the strain of everyone paying alertly attention. Rule number 1. Remember the words of the rules. Rule number 2. Follow the words of the rules. Rule number 3. Remember and follow the words of the rules. This didn't seem to help much, but Deana hoped that a better understanding would come in the following days. The voice repeated the 3 rules, and then there was a brief pause before the next words appeared. Please walk through the doors, the voice and words stated. Wade across the pool. Dip your head 8 times and exit the doors on the other side. Continue walking to the next room. The dark doors opened, revealing the cool, reflecting lights of a pool within. It was wide, spanning the length of all the doors, with embedded lights on its floor and stairs descending along the wide ends of the walls. Its surface casted wiggling lines on the dark walls, and through the open doors that led to dark hallways on the other side. The crowd shuffled forward, diligently walking down the pool's stairs. The waters were quite warm and soothing. Remembering to dip her head 8 times, Deana did so, walking a few steps before each dip. She counted each time she submerged her head, and then walked the stairs out of the waters. Someone got nervous and started asking if others noticed how many times they had dipped their heads, and that they had lost count. That made someone else stumble on which number they had left off on. Deana watched as a few panicked, forcing others to quickly count and dip before running out of the pool. Deana turned and walked through the dark hallway. A strong, warm waft filled a portion of the hallway as Deana advanced. Keeping one hand on a wall to guide herself, she couldn't see. It wasn't until the light appeared at the end of the hallway that she noticed the air had dried her. Quickly she hurried toward it, needing to be away from the oppressive dark. She came upon a feast. Rectangular dining tables, covered with white linen, filled the room, each topped with a chandelier. High-backed gold chairs with cushioned backs and seats were set a slight distance from the tables, seemingly waiting for someone to comfortably slide in. More lights, shaped like the Great Mushroom, were embedded in the walls. Arches curved down from the ceiling to standing, polished pillars, and across the way, 5 grand staircases led onto nothing but dark shadow. Deana heard the admiring sounds of the Mycorians as they all walked in, their eyes witnessing the immaculate scene. Hungering gazes landed upon the piles of fruits centered across each table, several types of which they had never seen before, a display of bright colors. There were at least 30 tables, each holding empty rectangular dish plates with deep curves, sitting before the awaiting chairs. Pre-filled glass cups with gold trims glistened with water next to the plates, and folded napkins sat like steeples. It was indeed a wonder to behold. Before they could reach the tables, the same neutral voice boomed into the room, with words floating in the air. There are 253 Mycorians remaining. Please eat what's directly in front of you. Drink from your cup next to your chosen seat. Once you find a chair, sit and remain seated until told to leave. They had lost 14 Mycorians, who were not present to witness this immaculate dining scene. Deana didn't have time to ponder what happened to them or where they went, as Mycorians poured toward the tables. A few, like Deana, hesitated. After watching many take their seats, leaning over to gather fruit and eat, she found the courage to look for an unoccupied chair. Once seated, she studied the empty plate, and then the Mycorians who excitedly filled their plates. She was tempted to do the same, but something didn't seem right. She repeated the words that still thoughtfully hung in the air. You have two choices. Should she eat, or should she drink?